Hi, everybody, and Happy New Year. I am reaching out to you from my bubble in Montreal after a nice walk that I took with a very good friend. And we were talking about a subject that feels very pertinent to the time, but also very personal to me. And I want to share with you a story that I hope might give you comfort or help you feel less alone if you are grappling with similar questions. And that theme is the difference between surviving and really living. So, for those of you who may have read my posts from Budapest or even my piece on beauty, might know already that this trip to Budapest to visit my family after 3 years ended up being quite a pilgrimage with insights that I didn't quite sign up for, but were very helpful. And one of the big takeaways from that was that I felt a very strong desire within me to finally really embrace life in full force, as opposed to staying in the state of inner lockdown that I imposed upon myself even before the actual world lockdown, putting on a shield and focusing on the bare minimum of surviving, caring for my daughters, making sure that their needs were met and my work was done, my university degree was finished with success. And I protected myself from anything that could potentially bring on any additional pain, but also any additional joy. And in Hungary, I could no longer lie to myself that I was happy to be staying in this state of near death, really, quite frankly. And I took some very bold steps towards facing life with courage. And these steps felt quite wobbly and uncomfortable and new, but also, to be honest, very nice. And as I was embracing this kind of euphoric feeling and dancing in the kitchen on a Saturday morning while making crepes and embarrassing my daughters, there was also this voice in my head that warned me that with these potential highs, there's also a potential for a deeper emotional low because my heart was really exposed. And as it happened, I did get that blow from life, which was kind of inevitable, I realize. But and it was very unpleasant, and it was for sure stronger. And in that moment, I was very tempted to reach back for that armor and put it back on. And also, I felt a deep regret and shame for showing up in my authentic self and putting myself in that kind of danger. But luckily, I was able to take that into writing, and instead of walling in my sorrows, I just wrote. And I wrote the pain out. I gave it voice, and I wanted to understand what this pain really meant. What was I grieving? What was I regretting? And what I needed? And how this uncomfortable feeling can be actually used for an emotional growth that can get me a little bit closer to liberation, a state of moksha. So later on, I realized that the process of writing was actually a process of non-attachment, vairagya in yoga, where we don't detach from the pain in an attempt to be positive, but first we look at it in all honesty and allow that pain to transform us and teach us some lessons, even if they're uncomfortable. And then approach this uncomfortable or unpleasant experience as with gratitude for moving us closer to our truth. And I have to tell you that this process, as idyllic as it sounds, wasn't a pretty one, and there were many tears involved. And as one of my friends called me in the midst of it and looked at my distraught face on the camera, she was very sweet to say, look at you and how beautiful it is you vowed to live, and you are now really living all these emotions, which include the happiness, the pain, the love, the joy, the regret. And she also said something that really resonated with me, and that was the moment that I decided to put my vulnerable face on the camera again, when she said, what kind of a teacher would you be if you didn't allow these emotions to really wash over you and teach you the lesson that they had to teach you? And that was the moment that I decided that I wanted to stay in this state of really living, and I would rather have the pain with the glory and with the joy, as uncomfortable as it may be. That I still wanted to tell the stories that I meant to tell, that I want to teach the teachings that I have within me, and that I want to love the way I meant to love. And this is also my time to reach out to you and to say that if you are feeling the impulse to live and you are afraid, I understand it, because as you can probably see on my face, it's not always an easy thing to do. But I encourage you to shine your light without holding back, because this time, more than any time, is the time when we have to live without being afraid and share that view of life. So I'm wishing you a happy new year, and I'm wishing you a life that is lived to the full, despite the restrictions that are imposed on us. And just remember that there's one lockdown that might be imposed on the outside, but you have a choice whether you want to impose also an inner lockdown. And I sincerely hope that you want, and I sincerely hope that you will decide to live. Happy New Year.